to know your will, to be brought before you. Help us to rely on you to clear the way for us, to make our path straight to you. Help us to know what we must cast aside, that your way may be made clear to us too. Gracious Lord, for all these things we pray, and ask that you deliver us your message this morning, whether through me or in spite of me. Amen. This week, we take on a new look at snow globes, and as you may have seen on the cover of your bulletin, it's a snow plow. And the reason that this week is a snow plow is because we're going to talk about how God kind of clears the way for us. That sometimes God lighting the way for us is not enough for some of us to get out of the places of darkness that we're struggling with in our lives. Sometimes it's not just about seeing the way to go forward, but it's about having that way made ready, made possible for us to go forward. And God has, throughout history, been faithful in doing it, preparing the way and showing the people not only how to get to Him, but also making it possible for them to get to Him. Christ is the ultimate example of how God has cleared the way, that even if God showed us that we were sinful and we acknowledged that we had fallen short, that wasn't enough. It was through Christ that God had to bridge the gap between His kingdom and the world. It's through Christ that we are actually able to come before God and to stand in His presence. And so when we look at Advent and we listen to the stories as we prepare for Christmas, for the coming of Christ, and even for the second coming, we have to look at how God worked to prepare the way. Prior to Mary becoming pregnant with Jesus, Mary's older cousin or aunt, Elizabeth, ended up getting pregnant in her old age with a baby that would become known as John the Baptist. And our lesson this morning is all about how John went out in the world before Jesus. So when John was about 30 or so, and in the 15th reign of Caesar Tiberius, John began to go out around the Jordan and teach people about Jesus. And it says that he was baptizing people there in the wilderness, and a baptism of repentance. And John was drawing these huge crowds. And the Pharisees were actually getting very upset with him. But all the while, even while the crowds were gathering to him, he constantly told them that there was one coming that was greater than him, one whose thongs on his sandals he was not even fit to untie or to tie. That John was thrust by God into the spotlight, made by God to be the one who helped break up some of the things that might have come between the people and Jesus. Things like their own guilt about their sins. I mean, there's some truth to that. I think that if I knew that the Son of God was going to be here on earth, was coming and was going to walk through that door, I personally think that I would want to prepare in various ways, that if I was to meet him face to face, person to person, not spirit to person, but if Jesus himself was going to walk through that door, I think that there would be a little bit of humility. Maybe the only time I ever show it. That I would feel like I was not worthy to stand in his presence. And I think that John was kind of called out there into that wilderness and was offering that baptism of repentance and that baptism of forgiveness so that the people who are about to see Jesus, who are about to see the Son of God in person, may feel a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more at ease when he showed up on the scene. In our lives, Jesus works to clear the way for us as well. That even now, without John out here preaching a baptism of repentance and offering us the opportunity to cleanse ourselves before God, we still have people in our lives who help prepare the way, who remind us that it's not about being worthy or unworthy. It's not about the ways that we have fallen short, that God's not looking for good enough in us. He's just looking for us. That there's no way that anyone falls short of God's love. We fall short of His perfection. We fall short of earning our own way into the kingdom of heaven, but there is nothing that we have done, nothing that we continue to do. There's no traits within us, no personality quirks that keep God from seeking us out. And sometimes we need God to clear the way for us to come into His presence. Sometimes we need a reminder that when it comes to God, it's not about the things that we've done wrong, the ways that we've made mistakes. It's not about not being good enough. That God just loves us as people, as children, where we are at. And oftentimes, we need Him to clear that way for us. We need Him to remind us of that so that we don't sit and try to hold God back because we feel ourselves unworthy. Or we listen to the words of others that tell us that we're not good. This season is a season of darkness and a season of light. Some of us may be looking and searching for God's light. Some of us may be in that place where we need hope, we need joy, we need faith. We need God's love this season. We need something to cling to, something to help us move forward because we're not feeling it right now. We're not in that mode of celebration and joy. We're not ready. Sometimes just seeing the path forward is not enough. I appreciate the image of the snowplow for clearing the way. You know, if we're last week we talked about the snowstorm and how headlights kind of light our ways to the path and it makes us feel a little bit better when we can see where we're going. I can tell you this, in a snowstorm, I feel much better when the road's also plowed in front of me as well. That there's something about having that path made clear and not having to worry about hazards as much, or not having so much snow in front of me that it gets stuck and bogged down in the storms of life. It is my hope and prayer that this season of Advent, as we prepare our hearts to celebrate Jesus coming and Jesus coming back, that God is able to clear the way, to plow out all of the snow and the gunk on the road of life that is cast down upon us from the storms in this world. And that he can clear the path and light that path for us to come to him and to be in his presence. And for those of us who already are in that place of celebration and that place of light, for those of us who are already feeling that Christmas spirit, who are ready for the celebration and ready for all of the joy and happiness and the parties and the presents and the singing and all the other traditions that we have, I hope that you can also take the time to work with God to kind of clear that path for others. That you can help not only shine God's light in their darkness, but help them find their way to hope as well. Bring them into the Spirit alongside you. Because it's together, as one family bound by Christ's blood, that we are able to most clearly and most easily experience the power of his kingdom, the power of his coming and his love in this world. It is when we are together, working for Christ and working to spread his joy and hope and peace and love, that we are able to see it and experience it in ways that we never even imagined. May this season of Advent be a time of God's coming into your life, or his coming back. Or may it continue to be a time when his presence is still so clearly known. Wherever you're at, let God clear the path